So, today's a special day. Today is my 100th video on this channel, 11th Hour Reviews. And after 100 videos, I just want to say thank you to the, as of this recording, 317 subscribers that have subscribed to the channel. Thank you very much. We're trying to get to 1,000, and I appreciate all the time you guys have spent into this channel. And for the 100th video, I decided to do something kind of special. And I want to do a maintenance video on how to take care of a PlayStation 3 FAT. Now, I am not an expert. I've actually never taken one of these apart before, and I would highly recommend that if you do for your first time, either go to a professional or study the hell out of it. Because one of the reasons why I am going to be working on this today is PlayStation 3 FAT models. I hate that they're called that because I don't think it looks that fat. These are very finicky about overheating. They weren't fed very well, and when these came out in 2006, they had a constant problem with yellow light of death. Now, something worth noting about this particular system right here is that this is a launch model 60 gigabyte Ps3, and this has never been opened. It still has the warranty sticker. So this thing has been as is since 2006. It is currently 2022. So it has been like this for 16 years without any maintenance on it. Now the good news to this is that this particular system, the previous owner never really played games on it. He just watched movies on it. So it still works fine, but with the amount of games that I plan on reviewing on this system, I'm going to get it to yellow light of death in no time. So I want to go in and do some preventative measures to clean the system up and make it last much longer. Now, something I'm going to do that I haven't seen any other YouTuber do is I'm going to show you the novice method to maintain one of these systems, and then I'm going to show you an advanced method. I am not going to do an expert method because the expert method requires you to delid the CPU and the GPU, and it's very easy to destroy the system trying to do that if you haven't done it before. I do not have a test one to try it out on, and this is my only PS3 system, so I am most likely not going to delid. If they just pop off, then I will show you the expert method as well, but I don't think they're going to, and I'm not trying to do anything heroic here. I just want to try and keep this system a little bit maintained. Now, before we start, there's a couple of videos you should check out on YouTube. One is how to PlayStation 3 Yellow Light of Death Repair by iFixit. I will leave the link down in the description below. And then another one you want to check out is from Mystic. He is a PlayStation fanboy, and he has a video called Building the Ultimate PlayStation 3 Backwards Compatible. And he does everything. He does a delid, and for the most part, that is a great video to watch. He does do a couple of things I don't like, case in point with the hard drive and with drilling a whole bunch of holes right here where the fan is, ruining the back of the PlayStation 3. So I personally would not do that, but you may think that's a good idea, and I still recommend checking out that video because he does a great step-by-step method on how to take apart your PlayStation 3. And then you also want to check out SpawnWave. SpawnWave is this guy on YouTube who does a lot of console opening ups, disassemblies, and he did one on the PlayStation 3 backwards compatible. It is titled Unboxing an Original PlayStation 3 Backwards Compatible Model in 2021. He has a very good in-depth video on some information about the internals of this system, so I would recommend checking out all those and checking out a couple of the other systems. But first, let's go over the novice approach of maintaining your PlayStation 3. So with doing this, you're going to want to first get one of these, a can of compressed air. these are a lifesaver, and I cannot stress this enough. Compressed air is really great, especially for some of these systems where they like to build dust. Dust is the #1 enemy to systems like this, the Xbox 360, any video game system. And this system has a lot of like vents and holes you can actually stick the nozzle in, shoot a blast of air, and get all that dust out. I would recommend doing this outside though. If you can't do it outside, I recommend doing it on a balcony. If you can't do it balcony, garage, if not that, an attic, basement, if not that, a bathroom. Don't do this in the room that you're going to be playing in, or your entertainment system room, or your living room, bedroom, because that dust is just going to go everywhere. So I would recommend doing it in a place that you don't use a lot of electronics. So definitely, this is tip #1. Get yourself a can of compressed air to clean this off. Another tip I would recommend doing is in terms of how you play this, in terms of horizontally or vertically. Now, a lot of people swear by the horizontal stance, and if you want to do that, that's great. I've played this horizontally. I tried researching how Sony recommends you play this. Unlike the Xbox 360, where you can do it both, it's right behind me, you can't see it. While you can do it both on the 360, Microsoft does recommend you do it vertically instead of horizontally. And unlike the 360, I didn't really find a specific answer with the PlayStation 3. Now, a lot of people swear you want to do it horizontally. I have since found through critical thinking and experience that I prefer the vertical stance for a couple reasons. One, on the 360, the bottom of the system is like completely covered in like screen/fence type deal, or if you stand up vertically, you're covering all those fence. Now on the PlayStation 3, the bottom is almost completely solid except for some fence right here, but you also have fence right here at the same place on the side. So if you stand up vertically, it's still getting that air through the bottom right here. Now, if you want to come up with some crazy method of having it vertically, but still having those fence exposed and create some sort of system like that, then sure. But I kind of felt that it's better vertically for one more reason. Horizontally, your system gets hot, and the heat always rises up. And so the heat will start collecting here in this hump where there is no venting of any kind. However, vertically, there are all these vents here on the top, if you can see it. And so I realized that this will vent heat a little bit better standing vertically than horizontally. So if you can, I would recommend trying to do this vertically than horizontally. That's just my personal opinion. And one more thing before I begin. I would like to point out that if you have any disagreements with any of my methods in this video, please put them in the comments below so other people can read them. If you're watching this video, please check out the comments for any corrections, additional tips, because I would feel terrible if, because of my information, someone's PlayStation 3 backwards compatible model became a brick. So please check out the comments, look in the description, look for any additional information that might be added down there so that your system does not get destroyed because of this video. And then another thing is, in terms of the third-party USB add-on fans, avoid all those at all costs, because one of the biggest issues is, one, those fans, a lot of times they're shooting air in the wrong direction. So like on the PlayStation 5, there's literally a back attachment on the fans that shoot air in against the fan trying to push air out. So it's literally just destroying your system. And you can swap out the fans and flip them around so it's shooting the correct way, but the problem there is typically these clip-on, add-on third-party fans will draw power from the system, so more power equals more heat, so they're not really doing any good. If you want to add more fans onto this thing, I would recommend getting a portable like fan, some kind of fan you can get from Walmart or Amazon. Hook it in a different outlet and have it aimed at the system, not going against the back fan on the back of the system over here. So probably have the fan over here aiming at the system. That way you're getting a lot of cool air shooting towards the system as it's sucking in. That would be my recommendation if you want to add fan support onto this thing. And in terms of the Novice directions, that is about it. Without opening up the system, that's kind of the best I can tell you. The only other thing I would recommend is perhaps if you're planning on doing like an 8-hour gaming session on one of these, cut that in half. No matter how long you're thinking about doing, cut it in half. And one more thing I have come across, or I have realized, is when I start playing a video game on this system, I don't turn off the system right away. I will leave it on the main menu for like 5 to 10 minutes. Now what this does is, when this system's running and you're playing a game, the CPU and the GPU get extremely hot, and that fan in the system is just turning, trying to cool that system down. And once you've done playing a game, and if you shut it off, those chips are still hot. And now you don't have a fan trying to cool it down. So the only way that heat can dissipate is throughout the entire motherboard, the entire system, and through those very sensitive ball bearings underneath the CPU, which if those melt, crack, deteriorate, you get a yellow live death. So I would recommend, once you're done playing a game, put it on the main menu and leave it there so that the CPU and the GPU are not being taxed so much, and that fan can have some time to like cool those down a little bit before you shut off the system for good for the evening or the day. I know it sounds silly, but I think with that you will see your system last a lot longer. And so that's about the end of the Novice tips and tricks for maintaining your PlayStation 3. Now I'm going to get into the advanced, and what the advanced method is to open up the system, replace the thermal pads, the thermal paste, and closing it back up without delidding the CPU. That is the expert method. If they don't pop up automatically, I'm not going to do that. So I got stuff to prepare for this. I have a tube of MX4 thermal compound, which is the same that Mystic used in his PlayStation 3 rebuilding. I have a new CMOS battery so that I can play digital download games offline. If you don't know about the CMOS battery, essentially the PlayStation 3 has a little tiny battery in it that when it's offline, the battery will keep the clock going. And as long as that clock is kept accurate, you can play all your digital stuff offline. But once that battery fails, you can no longer play your digital content offline without being online and connecting with the PlayStation 3 servers. Now, PlayStation has been trying to remove its PlayStation 3 store for a while. They've successfully removed being able to buy stuff with a credit card. You have to go through this extensive process of like putting a card onto your account through a computer or through a PlayStation 5, and so you have to jump through extra hoops just to buy something off the PlayStation 3 store. So they are actively trying to shut that down, and it's only a matter of time before they finally shut off PlayStation 3 servers for good. So I'm absolutely giving this a brand new CMOS battery to, prevent that from happening. These tend to last like 7 to 8 years. Somehow this CMOS battery still works after 14 years, so hopefully this lasts just as long. And then I have the thermal pads to replace the old thermal pads in here, and I've already done this, but if you haven't, you might as well go ahead and get a brand new hard drive into the system. This is the original 60 gigabyte hard drive that came with this system. I replaced it with a 310 or 320 hard drive, because honestly, that's about as much as I need. I still have plenty of space on that after playing a whole bunch of PlayStation system exclusives that have yet to be released. Another thing I would like to point out that so many people don't realize this is everyone puts in a solid state hard drive into one of these old PlayStation 3 fat systems. And I'm going to say right now, don't do that. So one, yeah, you will see some improvements in reading speeds and loading speeds and installing speeds, but it's like a handful of seconds. This system bottlenecks the hard drive, so no matter how much more advanced a solid state drive is over a standard laptop hard drive, you're not going to see that many improvements. Now, the reason why I suggest against this is because solid state drives get a lot hotter than a standard hard drive. This thing already has a lot of problems with heating, so you're basically just adding more heat to the system with a solid state drive, and the benefits do not outweigh the cost in terms of putting in a solid state drive into one of these. If you want to put a solid state drive into a PlayStation 3 Slim or Super Slim, go right ahead, because those handle heat a lot better. But with one of these old systems, I would strongly recommend against putting in a solid state drive. And then in terms of clean, I have alcohol, I have paper towels, and I have the right tools for the job. Make sure you have all the right tools before opening this up. And also, I'm going to be marking the right places where screws go. So with that, let's begin. Okay, now, I absolutely love that this system has not been opened up. I love that it still has the security tag right here. But to be completely honest, it's not necessary because, one, I can keep that and let this eventually fail, or I can take it off and have this work much longer. So I'm going to take it off and record myself doing it. But yeah, no, this was awesome having a non-opened up system, and so here it goes. And holy crap, it doesn't have the void markings on it at all. Now, first things first, I'm going to remove the hard drive plate. Which is actually see-through. Believe it or not, it looks black. I'm going to remove the hard drive. There is my 320 gigabyte additional hard drive that I added in. I have to remove this little foot. That. Head. Now, slide off the top plate. There we go. And funny enough, apparently this plate is the exact same density as sunglasses. So I was watching this video where you can actually hold this up to the sun and it'll block UV rays from your eyes. It's silly, stupid. I don't see why you'd ever need to do that, but you can do that. You can also go to ifixit.com and see the removal instructions. That's actually what I'm using right now to remove this. So we got this open. Okay. This up. And I don't think we need to take the card reader out. Just leave that there. It's perfectly fine. A little piece of tape right here. I want to keep that. So here is the Wi-Fi component for the system. They're so small now these days, but I mean, it's just like, look how big that thing is. And this thing is an antique, of course, but still just incredible. Hopefully my Wi-Fi works after this. So far, nothing has busted. Like when I took apart my Xbox 360, I noticed that it had busted. Like some of the tabs had busted. Okay, so we got the power supply here. And take off this Wi-Fi cable now. There's the Wi-Fi cable. And here's the power supply. This thing is a beefy boy and probably leads to most of the weight on this thing. So my suspicions were confirmed. This is a C-series power supply. These are the ones that ran the hottest and the most inefficiently. They drew the most power, and there are better power supplies I can get for this, but for right now I'm just going to keep this because I knew what was going to happen. I was going to buy a replacement power supply with, you know, and this would have already had it. So it doesn't. It has the more antiquated power supply, but I'm going to keep it like it is right now. Blow it out with air. And you know, if I start seeing system have problems in the future, I'll probably get a new power supply. And here, now have the Blu-ray player. And the interesting thing about this is a lot of people swear by this Blu-ray player. A lot of people have said this is like one of the best Blu-ray players that are available on the market to this day. So that is kind of neat that PlayStation had like some really amazing Blu-ray players in it. So this is the board so far. So far I haven't busted anything. There's a little bit of dust right there, which isn't good. A little bit of dust right there. So I'm going to blow all this out, obviously. But so far this is looking pretty nice. This is that dashboard that does the power and eject button. And amazing how such a little thing does that touch-sensitive advanced, you know, power inject. So cool. It's actually remarkable how heavy this thing still is with the Blu-ray player and the power supply completely off. And amazingly, I haven't broken anything yet. Like I was saying earlier, my 360, when I cleaned that out, there was a couple of little tiny plastic tabs I broke off. It didn't ruin the system, but still, it was just not as... So far, this has been very, very wonderful to work on. I've been absolutely enjoying this process. Now that may soon change. Here's the ground screw. That's important. Very important. There's the bottom part of the unit. Now we're going to remove the back. Simply This is surprisingly dusty, even though I blow it out from time to time. Here's the back, and I don't think I need to remove the main power unit. Just leave that as it is. Now we're going to flip this over, remove the fan connector. I want to be very gentle with these because you don't want to tear the cord out of the socket you're trying to get out. I'm removing the fan. Oh my gosh. This is amazing. So I was looking at getting a new fan for this system, a 19 blade fan, because I had assumed that this had a 15 blade fan. A 19 blade fan is better, it gets more air in. This is a 19 blade fan. I can't believe this. So they must have started throwing those in super early, and 19 blade fans on eBay are insanely expensive. They're like $70 for a used one. So the fact that I have a 19 blade fan is just no wonder this system works so great. Now we're gonna flip this back over. Yeah, that was funny. I thought I was going to have to replace the fan and maybe not have to replace the power box, and it's the other way around. I don't have to replace the fan at all. It has a 19 blade fan. The power box I need to replace at a later time when I'm feeling ambitious. There's one of those clamps that keeps the fan against the motherboard. It'll be kind of glued. There's one. There's the second one. Oh man, look at that. I mean, a tiny bit of dampness, but that is old. Okay, so there's the fan. A little bit of dust right here. And right there, a little bit of dust. That's old paste. And here's the cell processor and the RNX or RSX. I keep confusing which one's the GPU and the CPU. I think the cell's the GPU and that's the CPU. I don't know. These are what I'm addressing today. I'm putting on new thermal paste, and of course I'm doing new thermal pads as well, but it's the paste that I was really concerned about. I mean, 16 years, that paste probably is no good anymore, so I want to get those addressed. Okay, so now we have the PlayStation 3 disassembled. This is the GPU, CPU, the emotion engine, and now we're going to clean this baby up. I have applied new thermal pads on this bomb site, including this one right here. Mystic, the guy on YouTube, told that later models start putting a pad right here when the launch models didn't have one, and so it helps with cooling, and so I put one there. That was kind of the important one. Now I'm going to work on this side. Okay, so now I've applied thermal pads to both sides, this side and the other side. which one of them fell off, so that's not good. Let's apply brand new one. I believe we are ready to apply thermal paste. But let's get this reassembled first. So I have now replaced the CMOS battery with the hopefully new one, and the new one says it has a lifespan of 7 to 8 years, so hopefully this will work. Yeah, this thermal paste was in a really bad shape. I'm glad I did this, I really am. So now I'm going to apply the thermal paste onto these. Hopefully I did the right amount. I've never done this before, so I'm going to try and do it right. So on the GPU, or the reality synthesizer, I put kind of like an X brace on it because it had those 4 RAM cards on either side, and then I put a little bit extra in the middle, and then over on the cell processor, I just did the 1 blob in the middle, so we'll kind of see how that works. Yeah, I'm looking and I don't see a huge mess on these. Can't really see over here. And so yeah, I don't want to lift it up because they'll have to redo it again, and so still it spreads pretty nicely once you apply it, so that's about it. So now time to reassemble it. So these what do you call them? These plates that help keep the fan against the CPU and GPU, they said remove them evenly and gently to not hurt the motherboard, so I'm going to do the same but in reverse. Now we reassemble. And again, I am not going to be drilling holes in the back of this. Yeah, I know it'll help much better with airflow, but I don't want to destroy the body of this thing. It's in pristine condition. So, just getting some of the hard to blow out dust that is problematic. This ground wire back on. Now, when screwing these back in, you want to be careful not to over tighten them because you will strip the plastic. You're screwing the metal nail into plastic, and so you don't want to overdo that too much, because in a fight with metal to plastic, plastic always loses. So you want it snug, but you don't want it over tighten. I have to say, the hardest thing there was for me to do was removing the CMOS battery. That sucker would not get out. That was probably the hardest thing to remove. I'm going to swap this around. So something worth noting is, even with the Novice method of just blowing out dust with the air compressor, I found a lot dusted here. It wasn't a shocking amount, but still, it was a decent amount, and so you might want to consider opening this up just to clean it. I'm not saying do anything heroic like I just did today, but like, you know, just to get some of the dust out here. Attaching that piece of tape that was holding the Wi-Fi wire. Yeah, that just shocked me that this had a 19 plate fan in it already, which is awesome. It means it's cool. It'll stay cool, unless I screwed up the thermal paste, which I don't think I did. I watched a lot of videos on that, and I think I did the right amount of thermal paste. So, if I brick this thing, I'm gonna look like a biggest idiot in the world. And you all going to be able to laugh at it. And I will attempt to try and get a professional to fix it if I do brick this. But it was a fun journey nonetheless. Surprisingly, at this point, I've yet to break anything. I've broken any little tabs. We'll see if anything loose rattles when I completely finish sealing this up. By the way, I also used the instructions on the iFixit website on how to dismantle your PlayStation 3, and make sure I have separate piles of screws for each step, and then when you reassemble, just do them backwards. So that's kind of what I'm doing right now, is I'm doing all of them backwards. We are close to being done. Just have a couple more screws to put in. base plate back on. Now, the hard part. Trying to get this damn screw in there. Foot. There's a little warranty label so that I can still act like it's new even though it's not. Although when I took it off, it was a little difficult to take off. So I did remove the warranty label for the first time. But it is neat that I can put that back on. Unless I have to reopen this again. I have my 320 gigabyte hard drive. Put in this little blue screw. And I'm done. Hopefully it works. Okay, so the system seems to be working, and all I have left to do, I've already tried a disk, works great, and all I have left to do is to go offline and see if that CMOS battery works. And the CMOS battery works. Now, something worth noting that I did not know is when you disconnect the battery and put in a new one, you have to connect to the internet at least once to have the system lock in the right time so that your digital games can play offline. But that's about it for my maintenance of the PlayStation 3. And automatically I can start hearing that the fan is running a little bit better, so I think that thermal paste was causing quite a bit of problems, it being old and whatnot. It seems to be running smoothly. I'll need to see after playing for 5 minutes if it has any issues. And also those new thermal pads seem to be working. I'm glad to find out that there was actually a 19 blade fan in there. And remarkably, I did not break one thing taking that apart and reassembling it. So, you know, pretty happy about the experience. And if you have a little bit of time to kill, you can actually take it apart, replace the thermal pads, put on new paste, and have this probably run a little bit better. I will put in the description down below if I ran into any problems after doing this. So that has been our maintenance for novice and advanced gamers for the PlayStation 3. This has been our 100th episode. Hope you guys enjoyed. My name is Christopher Connell with 11 Hour Reviews, and that will be all. And don't forget to do the thing.